This is our family dog, Charlie. He's a perfect little baby. I feel like everyone has a doodle these days because they're the most loving, therapeutic, and empathetic creatures. They're just so perfect.
I know, when I cry, Charlie cries.
Yes.
Alright, people of Spokane.
Here we are.
Yes. So cuddly.
We got Char here.
Oh my gosh.
We got the whole squad.
You say whole squad, but this is merely a third.
Third of the squad. This is like the hometown, like older kids squad of the family. Like during like family gatherings and shit, we come here to Naomi's room, we hang out, Naomi DJs, and we vibe and we talk.
This is the bed. This is the joint.
This is the Kosteka's house.
This is like the living room for like the mature people.
This is the studio apartment inside of my parents' house.
And I don't know how it started or why, or I mean because this bed is just extremely comfortable.
It's so comfortable. Charlie can attest.
He can.
He's the homie.
Facts. But what I kind of wanted to talk about, because I've been on a string of thought today.
Yeah, Naomi's been fucking on one.
I've been on one today because lately, just with the weather and how dark it gets so easily, and just like my sleep schedule, haven't had time for myself, and I feel like this time of year, I feel like a lot of people can attest to that. Like, it's the time of year where you get into a routine again and you don't have time to kind of reflect on things you're going through or work on passion projects or do stuff for yourself. And I feel it's just very monotonous this time of year, and you just kind of get like in the mindset like, damn, like it's December, I'm gonna have to spend a lot of money on people, I'm gonna have to be just like in family gatherings like consistently and like what have you. Yeah, today I've been really thinking about just like being mindful and setting time aside for your personal thoughts, especially like this day and age. You consume so much media, you don't really have time to really think about your personal things you are going through. Like, I don't know, I think it's very interesting, but I've been exercising parts of myself that don't get a lot of exercise, just like keeping myself just like snappy on just being artistic and just like being like working on yourself and changing for the better. But especially artistically, because Micaela and I and our whole family is really artistic, and especially growing up, like that was really just like aided to and like kind of like a focus. And I used to be super good at art. Like I used to be so good at art. But for me nowadays, I'm like, damn, like, am I just gonna randomly just break out in a random sketch? Like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
And I like, as much as I would want to, like, I know that I'm not as good at artistry as I once was, because when I was in high school, like, I was doing it every day, like, second period.
Well, it's like built into your schedule, yeah.
Yeah, it's built into your schedule for you to exercise that stuff. But when you don't have a set schedule, it's just like it is up to you to do it. And when it's up to you to do it, you can also make excuses. Yeah. So what do you think about that?
No, we've kind of been talking about this, and like this time of year in particular, I think we're in the Pacific Northwest, we're in Washington State, like seasonal depression is a very real thing, and I mean, the days are shorter, the weather's shittier. Summer, like, in particular, is sort of, like, the highlight and the crown jewel of, like, our little local culture. Everything happens in the summer. Like, you are booked, like, hour to hour. There's tons of stuff going on. And what's funny about that, though, is I find a parallel, despite people, like, capitalizing on the weather being good in the summer, and I technically tend to feel more inspired and full of life in the summer, it's 3 months. It's so short-lived, and it's like a fleeting dream. And so that, to me, always, I kind of come into some weird existentialism in the fall, because you feel like that's what life is supposed to be. The height of the excitement, the happiness is really, like, contrasted when the weather starts to get cold and the days get shorter and it gets dark and all of that stuff. And it's hard for me to fathom living where we live, because I'm like, oh my God, there are literally places in our country, let alone in the world, where my summer experience is just the lifestyle.
Yeah.
So, but what I was going to say is the parallel between the busyness and the activity in the summer, I find that tends to happen this time of year with the holidays, and you could argue that, like, the holidays are designed to keep, I mean, countries, Germany, Norway, like, all these, like, Nordic northern countries tend to have like a holiday season built around the weather being shitty because it's a distraction. And without like holidays, it would be very hard.
Interesting. I've never thought about that.
Yeah, I think about that a lot.
That's really yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's literally a distraction.
Yeah. I mean, so today I was driving down the highway and I was looking around and like so Spokane is cloudy like almost statistically perfectly 50% of the year compared to other places, and that's pretty high. Like, I was driving down and I was like looking around and it is cloudy and there's snow on the ground and it's cold, and it's just, I was just looking at the color, like everything is so desaturated in the winter.
Yes.
And it's so like depressing. It is so depressing, like compared to the summer where everything is green and like even, and this one thing I've paid attention to the past year is like, think about when you're in California. The sun is like, it's like the Golden State. The sun is a little more yellow and like warm.
Close
there.
to the equator.
Yeah. But here, like in the summer, it does, like I've noticed like the color in the winter, it's like a white shade of, it's like a very cool shade of just like white and like light.
Yeah. Well, it's like this light we have here that we're literally using for this video, like you can adjust the warmth.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, you think of like a colder light as more clinical, maybe more unnatural, which is the lighting we tend to get here. And I do think, to your point, because of like the snow and the kind of like colder colors, the dampness of the earth, it reflects the light like a completely different shade.
For sure. Obviously, everybody loses pigment in their skin in the winter, but I feel like when the light is a lot more blue and a lot colder, you can like just feel like, oh fuck. I feel like obviously like lack of vitamin D, but just like damn, like I don't feel like my same like peppy self. I wouldn't say I'm like depressed, like seasonal depression. It's just like it's mentally a lot more taxing than normal, and I could just feel the static in my brain. I could just feel like, okay, like there's shit that I deal with that I'm not normally like thinking of like so negatively.
Yeah.
And I have to check myself a lot more so in the winter rather than the summer.
Definitely. So to the point of like creativity and like that being impacted by the seasons, I want to talk about like two different strains of this, of like locality and how that impacts creativity. Then you could argue on top of that due to the cycle of 4 seasons, which I know there are big cultural hubs like a New York City that experiences a full 4 seasons, a Chicago, whatever. The creative influences, it seems like you have to really seek them out. The emotional roller coaster of the seasons can be an inspiration in and of itself, like creatively, but it also can be just straight up exhausting.
What I was thinking too is like, yes, the winter is super uninspiring, everything is desaturated, everything is cold and musty and like not cute. You always hear about like the starving artists and everything.
Giving winter.
It gives winter. But in the hardest times for artists, that brings out the most creative side of them. And like what I was thinking is like creativity comes really easy in the summer because everything is just happy and like a lot of feelings are circulating. But in the winter, there isn't that really. So you have to kind of kick your creativity into like high gear and really like hunker down and really like think about everything that has, like, I find myself really thinking a lot deeper in the winter. And I feel like that in turn, even though it is a little harder to have a creative output, I feel like that creative output is a lot more thoughtful and introspective and like deeply woven into thought more so than in the summer.
That's interesting because I find, I guess everyone's different. I mean, honestly, like I find the summers to be very, like I live very poetically, and I'm very much romanticizing my life, and I feel like I see the world generally almost more cinematically in the summer, and it might just be because things are slower, things are objectively maybe more beautiful, and I don't know, like I tend to be a little more nostalgic later summer and during the fall. And so I guess what I'm saying is a lot of my inspiration, to summarize, a lot of my inspiration is drawn maybe more from my immediate surroundings in the summer and fall, whereas in the winter and spring, I have historically like gravitated more towards the internet. But in middle school, high school, elementary school, I mean, I was surfing the web as well, but like when I discovered Tumblr, for example, Tumblr and Pinterest, winter sports. Most of my like real absorption of inspiration, of culture, all that shit happened in those months because one, I was just inside. Two, my external surroundings, like immediately and in real life, were simply just not inspiring me. Can you credit any of your like creative influences from this city? Or do you feel like a lot of your influence and your inspiration, like on a daily basis, comes from the internet or social media? Or...
Yeah. I feel like it's so spread out that ideas can't be spread that well.
Yeah. And
like,
it's not as dense, where you think of like a place like LA, New York, like geographically are spread out more.
Yeah.
But they're denser, therefore ideas might be spread and like cultural hubs can form.
Yeah, and I don't think that Spokane has that capability just because of like how it's geographically
lack of mobility.
Yeah,
you have to have a car in this
how
city.
how the infrastructure has just been formed. Like it has been formed on cars. Like,
and maybe that is just the American condition, feeling like unless you're in a major metropolitan area, access to culture, mobility throughout the city, inspiration throughout the city, nature inspiration, local versus digital inspiration, the seasons, are they inspiring or are they deflating, kind of thing. Because we're all kind of going through it this time of the year, especially in the in-betweener phase of like fall to winter, holiday season. Yeah. Hi, Tardy.
But anyway, so we've covered a lot of topics on just how everything impacts us.
I don't know if this is something we'll do relatively consistently, but we sit in this bed. I come over from my house. I stay then at my parents' to hang out with my siblings. We talk about life, and we chop it up for hours upon end. Yeah, that's kind of how we roll as a family. We're all chatterboxes, and we all are, I think, pretty deep thinkers. Mm-hmm. Which can get kind of out of hand because we'll all kind of start spiraling and like theorizing and like talking. It's like what I could only imagine the fly on the wall or Charlie on the bed.
Charlie on the
bed. What he hears. But yeah, I don't know. If you enjoyed this and if you would like to hear maybe more subject-oriented rambles, we kind of covered a really random array of topics today, but I think they all were generally aligned. So. Thanks for tuning in. Mm-hmm. From the Kosteka sisters. Naomi Kosteka on Instagram. She's a fire DJ and she's taking the Spokane club
the lion
by storm. She's a lion in the booth.
Yeah.
And I'm Micaela Kosteka on Instagram. Yeah. Let us know if you want to hear us talk some more. Because we'll fucking talk your ear off. All right. Bye.
Good night, guys.
Rest in peace.
Peace, guys.
Watch like 2 people watch this video.
I mean, that's how it is.